Hello and welcome to another Christmas edition of Drive-In Double Feature. I'm Ryan.
I'm Nathan.
And this is the podcast where we talk about two movies a week every Tuesday and Thursday. But before we get into anything, we have a Patreon over at patreon.com/drive-in-double-feature-podcast. It's a little area where we have some off-the-cuff conversation, playing a couple of games, just something a little extra for you patrons out there that we want to give you and show you that we appreciate you so much. If you want, head on over there to donate. If not, it does not affect any regular content. But today, on this Thursday episode, we're going to be talking about Deadly Games or Dial Code Santa Claus.
Oh, or Game Over. I've seen like 5 titles.
Hide and Freak.
Yeah, what is this? There's like 10 titles for this movie.
Well, it's directed by René Manzor, and it is, like I said, it's from France. This is our first French movie.
Yeah, I thought so. I thought it was our first French movie. Oh, we're fancy now. Okay.
Well, then now we can finally talk about true cinema.
Yes, yeah. Anything European and with subtitles? Mwah.
Anything that came out in France, automatic 10 stars.
Yes, and that's what I gave this movie. It's just like Godard. Beautiful. Godard and Truffaut.
Truly, it's up there with the French directing greats. But no, Nathan, this is nothing like Godard because they would never make a movie like this. Nothing quite this epic.
One word to explain it: epic. It mixes two of the most epic movies of all time.
I guess we should just go ahead and jump right into it. So,
stop beating around the bush.
Yeah, let's just jump into it. I'm so excited. I can't wait to talk about it. But
yeah.
Anyway, it's about a little boy. He's a genius. He's got like a super engineered gadgets all throughout his house, except this time he's going after an enemy, and that enemy happens to be Santa Claus, which is really just I guess a pedophile murderer, I guess is what he is.
I don't know. It was one of those movie villains that has no real motivation. It was more just like, well, he kind of does, but not really at a certain point.
I thought he was like a pedophile though, because he like wanted to hang out with like the little kids, like he wanted to play with the little kids in the snow, and like they all ran away. And then the other one was he played a mall Santa Claus, and he got like a girl to sit on his lap, and then she's like, "You're not the real Santa," and he just like slapped her right in the face.
The crap out of her. No, I guess that makes sense that he was a pedophile. I don't know why. I just thought he was just a weird guy. Like he in my head canon, in my story canon, I was like, oh, he just wants to be Santa. He wants to help the children. And then this lady fires him, and that happens to be his mom, the main kid's mom. And then it's like a revenge story.
Does he know that? I don't think he knows that that's her.
Really?
Okay. All right. So it's a little boy. He lives with his blind diabetic grandpa and his mom. No other anyone else, and they live in this like stupid expensive house. Like very crazily expensive. But no. So he's like. So this is the 80s. So this is like early internet days. And remember, he's like in a Santa Claus chat room.
Yeah, they're using like the internet, which is really interesting. But it's like connected to like this like big shopping area, right? The message board he's in. It's really weird.
Well, yeah. So like the little boy, he's on like a computer in his room. And it's like he thinks he's communicating with Santa because it's like a server that's just meant for Santa or something or whatever. But the guy, it's the murderer character, he's pretending to be Santa Claus, but like the terminal he's using is like in the middle of a shopping mall. And it's like
yeah,
like just imagine like, oh yeah, I'm just chatting with a little boy here in the middle of my shopping mall.
Yeah, I don't know.
And because he even said, like, do you want me to come see you tonight? You got to give me your address.
Yeah. And he's like, why? The kid's like, don't you already know that? because that's the whole silly thing. His friend has told him that Santa doesn't exist, but he still wants Santa to exist. He still thinks he's real.
Well, even his mom's is like now is not, you're too old to be believing in Santa Claus. And
mhm.
so, and then like his grandpa's like, no, it's Santa Claus is still a thing. Like what idiot would not think there's a real Santa Claus?
Yeah, exactly. But then this warps the kid's mind in my head because he's like later like, how do I know that Napoleon Bonaparte didn't exist or cavemen? And then the
Well,
grandpa's like,
then he watched Teenage Caveman.
yeah, Robert Vaughn did exist. I promise. But no, I mean,
Do you think that movie got imported to France?
I don't know. I could see it. The French really love good film, so. Uh, but no, I do love that the grandpa is like, oh, they're bones. Eyes can see their dead bodies, so they exist. And then he's like, what about Santa's dead body? And puts a little thought in his brain.
A little foreshadowing there.
Mm-hmm.
I guess like my thoughts. Go ahead and give it now. It's for me. I expected a lot more. I guess. To me, like the concept is great. Like the whole concept of like a little boy going after Santa is like really good. And I don't know. I just don't think like the execution was like that good.
Gotcha.
But I did really like the last third of the movie.
So I liked this movie quite a bit. I thought it was a lot of fun.
Good.
I do agree that there is a part where I feel like it gets a little lackluster. I think even at an hour and a half, it stretches itself a little thin at a certain point, but I think it's silly. It's a fun little movie. It's a horror movie about a old dude trying to murder a child, but it's so interesting looking. The look of this movie is like, you ever seen the movie Delicatessen? It's shot just like that. It's like hazy, full of Dutch angles, and like the rooms are really weird.
Yeah, like a lot of rooms are smoky looking.
Yeah, they're going for like a really like interesting look for it.
I mean, like where this movie like really like picks up is like the guy comes through like the fireplace through the chimney, and like first like the little boy's hiding under a table thinking like, oh, there's Santa, and his dog runs over there, and the dog's like barking at him like it's an intruder in the house, and the dog's like trying to bite at Santa, and I don't know what it is he grabs. Looks like a pie server, and
yep, it looks like it was like cutting fruitcake.
Yeah, and just violently murders this dog.
Horrible. Like I saw that scene, Ryan, and I was like, oh no, Ryan's not gonna like this.
I was so shocked. I was just like, oh no. Maybe that's what soured my opinion.
It happens really early in the movie. I think it's the most brutal thing that happens in this movie.
Oh, easily. But
yeah, because I guess what I would want more out of this movie is maybe a more of a slasher feel. But I get it's a kid, one person versus Santa, but that's where the movie gets a little boring for me, is like they kind of just chase each other and don't do anything interesting for a good chunk of the movie.
Well, like they don't, there's like so many instances. So I mean, I don't realize how big this house is, but there's so many instances I feel like where they're like, oh, action's gonna happen, and then they get separated somehow, like where like the two collide, and then like what was it, so he sends like a little like train or something like that has like a grenade in it, and he picks it up and he sends it back to the kid, but his grandpa at one point was like hiding in a suit of armor, and he thinks it's gonna explode like near his grandpa, so he stops it, and like they kind of like tackle each other for a bit, and then like the little boy just like runs away, and it's like, wow, he's just, and I'm like, and they're like on completely different ends of the house at that point.
Yeah. There's moments, I totally agree. There's moments like that that feel like they don't go anywhere. I think I like this movie just like kind of like the silliness of it. Cause I think whenever it does get like funny or silly, it's when I like it. Like whenever, because this kid is like a super genius and has rigged this house like more than Macaulay Culkin did. This kid has floor panels that open up and Santa falls into like nets and stuff. It is insanity for a lot of this runtime, which I think is fun. Like, why does this kid have a grenade? Where did he get this grenade?
I don't know where he got any of this stuff, and they don't explain how this kid. I mean, I'm guessing his mom is just like stupid rich and just buys him
Yeah.
whatever he wants.
That's what
But
I'm thinking, because there's that whole sequence that happens in another room filled with like toys, like wall to wall toys, and I thought that was one of the more interesting rooms. Um,
yeah,
but don't tell me you don't love Grandpa. Grandpa's a great character.
is he?
What? The little blind diabetic grandpa who doesn't do anything because the kid just holds his hand and runs around.
He's so useless, like until the last like minute of the movie.
Yeah. In any movie, this character would have died. Like, because there's a scene earlier where they're hiding out in the car and Santa like slams the windshield with a sledgehammer. Grandpa somehow makes it out alive and he's hobbling.
Well, yeah, that's what I remember that because yeah, he smashes the windshield and the little boy, like jumps out and he doesn't grab his grandpa. And I'm like you said, his grandpa could like barely walk.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow this feeble old man who's blind was able to outrun the killer.
Yeah. And that just keeps happening throughout the movie. I do think it's pretty funny. There's a suit of armor in there and they hide Grandpa in the suit of armor and it's just like a disembodied voice for like the rest of the movie. It's silly.
Starts going into a diabetic shock.
Yeah, the kid has to get him insulin. This kid gets messed up. He like breaks his leg, has to wear like crutches.
Well, yeah, no, so like there are some cool moments where one there's a cop that shows up and the killer kills the cop.
Mm-hmm.
And his friend shows up at the front door because he sent him like a email or whatever the equivalent was at the time saying like SOS, like, or it was like it was a fax, I think.
Yeah, and it was like, oh, Santa's trying to kill me, get help or something. And of course his friend is like, I'm heading right over there, I'm checking this out.
Yeah, and then the friend is able to get away, but he's like trying to, and Santa just stabs the little kid like right in the leg.
Yes, yeah.
And the kid has to use, I don't know, I think that it's a little stupid, like the crutch that he has where he gets like a chair. Like imagine you get like a chair, like the back of a chair and cut it in half. And
yeah,
then like
exactly.
you use like the part where your back goes as like a crutch, like to put under your armpit, and then like the leg is like props him up.
Yeah, it's giant. It's like a giant crutch. It looks like comical for the rest of the movie.
I was like, there'd be no way you'd be able to move with that stupid thing.
No. God,
and then the other part too was like when the Santa first initially breaks in, he does like alert his grandpa, and they go into like this fridge, and it's like the size of like a warehouse, and it's got like all like these different like the toys, like you were saying, like
yeah,
like it's so big. Like where were they? His mom was just okay with him building this room.
Yeah, it honestly looked like heaven. That's what made it look like cloudy and like kind of foggy and just full of toys. And this kid gets everything he wants, I guess. Lucky kid. He gets like a computer and the internet before like 99% of the world got the internet.
Yeah, he was posting all kinds of annoying tweets and being a troll, I'm sure.
I'm sure he was on message boards, fighting old people. So anything's possible.
Doxing people who didn't like Santa Claus.
Yeah, the 1% of people on there. You know how niche that is? Like in 1989, going on the internet to go on a Santa hater forum, there's like 5 people, maybe, probably less.
Yeah, it's just like, who's this little kid?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But I do like I do really like the ending of this movie a lot. I
Mhm.
do. What I love is like this movie goes there, like,
Yes. Yeah.
because like in Home Alone, he does all these crazy things, and it's played for laughs, it's played for slapstick. But
Yeah.
when you think about it, like the reality of this situation is like these robbers would probably murder Kevin if they had gotten their hands on him.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, and in real life, these robbers, like the links that they've gone, yeah, Kevin would be dead. It wouldn't be very funny anymore. I mean, think about that scene at the end of the movie where they have him on the door rack, the coat rack on the door, and they look like they're going to murder him right
Well,
then and there.
we see like this movie would have done that scene, except when Harry threatened to like bite off one of Kevin's fingers, that killer would have actually bit off one of the kid's fingers.
Yes,
I
he would have
feel
just
like.
done it. Yeah, well, because this is definitely more horror tinged than anything. And this Santa, he's creepy. I mean, this dude's like, he's creepy. He doesn't talk a lot. He's very, very quiet. And like when he does talk, it's just like usually really weird. Like he does finally catch him and he's like, you want to play hide and seek? I'm gonna no, or sorry, I caught you. Now I'm gonna hide and you seek. And that's one of the best moments in the movie when because the kid knows how to drive and fix cars for whatever reason. And then he steals the cop car, but Santa's hiding in the back seat and is like, you cheated, and like it makes him wreck the car. I thought that was a fun scene.
Oh, that's great. Well, because he's trying to get insulin to his grandfather, and
Mhm.
it's like I guess like it's the caretaker or like their house, so he has to like run to like somebody else's house to get like a dose of insulin, and
Yeah.
um, he crashes the car, and he has a gun, and he finds like the policeman's gun, and he just shoots Santa Claus.
Yep. Yep. But you were talking about the end of the movie where it just goes there.
It does the fake out, yeah. So
Yeah.
like he shows up again, like, and this little boy is like thinking his grandfather just died like right in front of him
Hmm.
because he had to give him insulin, and like the grandfather starts coming to, and this is like the grandpa's one shining moment, and like because the Santa Claus is about to kill the boy, and grandpa shoots Santa Claus and kills him.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
which this is the part where I thought was like the most realistic. Like this kid, like this movie does not have a happy ending where like the kid's like, oh, like because his mom shows up at the last minute and hugs him, and instead of it being like, oh, mom, I'm glad you're here, it's like this
This.
kid does like the 1,000-yard stare.
Yeah. Yeah. And like sounds from like like earlier in the movie are playing, and like he looks like a traumatized, broken child. Like it reminded me of Friday the 13th Part 4 with Tommy Jarvis, where it's like this kid's broken for life.
It kind of I didn't think of that movie, but this might be a stretch. But I was thinking of that movie, Come and See, where it
Yeah,
was
very similar. Yeah.
where it's like a boy like goes through like the horror, sees like the horrors of war, and he's just like shell shocked by the end of it. It looks like a shell of the former self, and
Yeah.
that's what it kind of reminded me of. Like this little boy has just been through hell, and he's not only he's had to use a gun to like murder somebody, he's had to see somebody die. He's like almost lost everything. Like his dog's been murdered. I mean,
Hmm.
that's what I would think. Like, because at the end of Home Alone, Kevin doesn't tell his parents what happened, and he's like totally fine. He's just
Yeah,
like, oh,
he hugs his mom. Is like, I love you. I'm sorry.
yeah. He's like, I love you, and they're like, oh, what happened? He's like, oh, I just kind of hung around, and it's like, and they're like, oh, okay, and just doesn't tell anybody
Yeah,
anything, and
it's
just
it,
totally fine with it.
it's like John Hughes while writing like Home Alone watched this movie and was like, too sad. Let's make this happy. It's funny that this came before Home Alone because like it feels like if it came after right here, like on the podcast, it'd be like, oh, it's a fun parody of Home Alone. It does Home Alone, but it's different. But no, this is
Well,
pre Home Alone.
well, it's funny you say that because
Hmm.
the director, Renee Manzoor, actually threw some shade at Home Alone and basically said, like, you guys just straight up stole my movie, and was threatening legal action. Never went through with it because I don't think he really was serious or whatever.
Yeah, he's probably just angry.
But
I mean, Home Alone is just different enough, I think, because Home Alone definitely takes the more comedy, silly moments, and the whole movie isn't just about Harry and Marv. You know, this is just a straight horror movie.
Yeah, you know, it does. It does, like, there's a lot of similar things in here, but I know, like, I think, like, John Hughes had talked about, like, how he wrote the script for it was basically just like he was planning out a trip and he was thinking about all the stuff he had to take with him, and he was like, huh, what if I forgot my kid or whatever? And that was just kind of like the little kernel that kind of became what it was. But I think it is different enough. I don't think me personally, I think there's enough differences between there where it's like totally not the same. Like you said, it's like tonally, it's like two different extremes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, I don't like Deadly Games is not something you could show a child.
No, never.
Like, but you could show a kid Home Alone.
Yeah, I mean, everybody watched Home Alone growing up, and I mean, I don't know if anybody out here is, maybe in France, that the game is just like a go-to Christmas movie. It's playing on whatever their version of AMC 24 hours Christmas Day.
Well, I'm looking here, and it actually says it debuted at the Children's Film Festival.
Okay. French kids, they really deal with a lot of stuff, I guess. I guess they can handle this.
It's a common thing that happens in France.
Oh, I guess so. Okay, cool. Kids getting left alone in a mansion, crazy Santa running around. It's like almost a Christmas tradition.
But yeah, I mean, it sounds like I'm being hard on the movie. I really did. I didn't hate it. And I actually did like it. I just didn't love it. There was just something, I guess, like I said, I was kind of hoping for a lot more, and I was like, but it was still really good. You know, like I said, it accomplished what it wanted to do. Yeah, I would say I'd give it a watch. It's something out there that's different. Definitely.
Yeah, I definitely recommend it. I think it's a fun, silly movie. It has its issues, but I think overall, like, you know, it's a silly horror movie, and I laughed a few times. There's a really fun style to it, so I think it's neat enough to recommend.
Speaking of that, there are, like you said, like the shots, like how the scenes are done. There's like random moments where it'll just become slow-mo for like no reason.
Yeah, for no reason.
Like there's one where he's just like banging on a door, and he's just like, and it's not like there is anything behind the door that's that significant. It's just it just did it because.
Yeah, it's just weirdly stylized for whatever reason.
Oh, okay. So now I'm thinking about it. There are some like weird moments. Like one thing I wanted it to be a lot more dynamic in is so like towards the end where he has all of his traps set up. There's like one where like a dart, like two darts fly into like directly into Santa's throat.
Yes.
And but then it's like, okay, like he gets hit with the darts, and it's like, okay, cut. Now next scene, like next trap, and it's like wait, like he just took a dart right to the throat.
Yeah, no, I thought I saw that scene too, and it's actually really brutal because it lasts on it just for a few moments, and yeah, I was like, damn, that's gonna really hurt. But no, it's just like Home Alone where the injuries don't matter, but sometimes they do. It's like the movie chooses when an injury is gonna count or when it's not. I don't know.
Yeah, because then he tries setting Santa on fire, and that doesn't. But then it's like, okay, cut now, next scene, and so. But you know, it's that kind of stuff like that. I was just thinking, okay, I guess I would, if you're going to make it like brutal, then we need to kind of, I would have liked her to linger a little bit more on those scenes, or like show him being like, you know, pulling out the dart or something. So Or it's like just showing like the real pain that was going on. But
it's almost like they really wanted to make a children's movie, but like also a horror movie. They didn't go one direction fully or the other. It's like in this weird middle ground of a movie.
Yeah. But I think we both give it a recommend.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But I guess that's it. Nathan, what are we going to be talking about next time?
Next week, we're going to be rolling right on back to another Brad Jones movie. If you remember last Christmas, we did Jesus Bro, which was directed by Brad Jones. So why don't we keep the theme going? We're going to be talking about disco. And if you don't know who Brad Jones is, well, that's okay. That's understandable. Check in and see.
We'll explain it enough. And if you don't want to watch that movie, we completely understand that this is more up for our amusement, but we'll try to make it fun for everybody.
Yes, of course.
Well, if you have any thoughts, opinions about our podcast, please send us an email over at driveindoublefeaturepodcast@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at DIDFpod. And once again, check out the Patreon at patreon.com/driveindoublefeaturepodcast. But wait, let's until next time in French. Until next time.
Oh.
Mon beau sapin, roi des forêts, que j'aime ta